G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, midweek report time. Yes, coming a bit late today, obviously. Before I get into it, the documentary took a bit longer than me and Dan anticipated. Obviously we tried to get it out Sunday. Sky said nah, same again Monday, but we found a way around it. Obviously it's not ideal, we had to put a few images on it where we actually had clips, but it is what it is. It's a learning process. We'll know better next time and we'll find a way around it. So I kind of look at this first documentary and think it was good, and I definitely thought it was good, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I do. But I know it can be a lot better. I know with time and experience, because we have experience of doing it now, the next one will be even better. Obviously we're going to do them for big fights, really big fights, and Fury White is one, and I'll talk about that now in a wee bit, the press conference, what I thought. But the first thing that I really want to talk about, which kind of, I guess we had to expect it, seeing what happened last week. If I had one thing to say, I guess in some ways I could see it coming, but I kind of was still taken a bit by surprise. That is that MTK Global have announced they are ceasing operations. Jeez, I remember when this was MGM. And, you know, going back then, you know, it's been a while. I have a statement from MTK itself here. It says, I'm just going to quote them here. This is a statement that was put out by MTK direct. Quote MTK, as a business, we have faced unprecedented levels of unfair scrutiny and criticism since the sanctioning by the US government of Daniel Joseph Kinahan. It is a matter of public record that Mr. Kinahan's involvement in MTK ceased in 2017, and despite repeated reassurance in this regard, unfounded allegations about his ongoing association with us and our fighters persist. Since leading promoters have now informed us they will know that they will be severing all ties with MTK and will no longer be working with our fighters, we have taken the difficult decision to cease operations at the end of this month. MTK prospered because we always put the long-term interest of our fighters as the heart of what we do. Our priority in the next weeks ahead will be to ensure that our world-class boxers are supported to find new partnerships as swift as possible. This bit I found it interesting. MTK gyms are operated independently, so will remain open for the foreseeable future. Further announcements will be made in due course. Thank you to all the fans who have supported us over the last decade. So MTK have been really making big strides in boxing over the last few years. You know, Billy Joe Saunders very open. So was Tyson Fury, but Billy Joe Saunders probably more so openly how happy, and you know how Daniel is my. And look, we're not going to go into that's a whole different can of worms altogether. The whole Kinahan situation. That's a whole big kind of case of you know what. We'll talk about that. And what I mean by that is it's just a big can of worms that we're not going to talk about. This is boxing. But I do find that, you know, you see a lot of fighters backtracking on what they said. The fighters I feel sorry for with MTK are some of the fighters who have just turned over pro, didn't maybe have a glamorous amateur background, not to say they're bad fighters, but would maybe be kind of looked over or given the short end of the stick with someone like Frank Warren, with someone like Eddie Hearn. You know, over in America they probably wouldn't get much. They'd be on very small, you know, shows over there. So for MTK to come in and basically give these guys a platform on IFL to fight on, and also with that, you know, you saw people like Gary Cully were able to branch out, and he fought several times on Queensberry. He fought on Matchroom just gone. You've seen other MTK fighters fight on small hall shows away from the cameras. So it actually gives them a little bit of support, and it helps kind of basically let them kind of carry on their career, because knowing if they were with a major promoter, they probably wouldn't get much airtime. They'd probably only get a couple of fights here and then. They'd probably be the B-side then, assume, at some stage. So certain fighters like that who turned over with them, you know, I feel for them. The fighters who, you know, like Billy Joe Saunders, basically, you know, who, you know, is very just open about it. You know, tries to say, you know, I'm a good person, and then, you know, my best buddy Daniel is like, really? But with regards to PROBELLUM, so PROBELLUM's an interesting one, because PROBELLUM, in all but name, are MTK. In all but name, they are MTK. And I've heard contrasting stories. So some have told me that their deal with Eurosport is now suspended. But I've heard others, basically I was on with Jamie there today, and we were chatting about it, and he's actually said that he's heard the contrary, that it's actually terminated. Now, there is a PROBELLUM show on this Friday, and I would imagine it's probably going to be the last one, certainly for the foreseeable future, but I would hazard a guess, probably more than likely that's it. Now, it was originally going to be on Eurosport. We knew that because that was who the deal was. It's now going to be on just PROBELLUM's own website. So in order to watch that, you need to watch it on PROBELLUM's own website. It's not going to be on Eurosport. So for me, I take that to mean that's it, that's done. And I said this with Jamie, and I'm going to say it again, and I wouldn't be shocked if this happened. Kugan Cassius. I don't really like Kugan Cassius, to be honest with you, as a person. I find him very... look, I admire and respect what he's done with IFL, and I think him and James, but more so Kugan, they've really revolutionised the whole boxing YouTube journalism game. I admire that, but as a person, I've never really... I remember the first time seeing Kugan, like, on camera, and actually thinking, there's something off. About years ago, there was something very off about him, and I wouldn't be shocked if he takes a backward step now from IFL, or it goes to Umar or someone like that full time. Maybe he follows James Helder off somewhere, because Kugan was very... Blue Collar Sport, Dale said it, and I agree. And look, you get this is just me speaking from the outside looking. This is what it looked like. Kugan's a posh boy, and I get the impression probably quite insecure. And he always kind of struck me as someone who, he loved the fact, I've got a big gangster friend. The Kugan's about 40 years old. You think he'd know better, but I've got a gangster friend. I'm a big deal, And I wonder if that's coming back to bite me. So I wouldn't be shocked, because IFL is just, it's not mentioned of it. So I would not be shocked at all if we start seeing, Kugan take a backward step from ISL, and possibly, I remember James Helder left 2017, the back end of 2017, and certain rumours have been it was with regards to the MTK situation. So look, that is what that is. We'll leave it at that. We'll move on with that. Obviously, Errol Spence, and I'll leave the Tyson Fury don't know why for last. I'll talk about that more. But Errol Spence has been... It's been amusing seeing him on Instagram. He recently put up an image of him with all the belts in a shopping trolley. Kell Brook ticked, Sean Porter ticked, your Dennis Ugas ticked. One name awaits: Terence Bud Crawford. It's nice to talk about something different, actually, for a change. But Terence Bud Crawford. People, this fight has to happen. It has to happen next. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence. It has to happen. I want to see this fight more. I'm going to go out and say I would rather see Crawford Spence next than I would AJ Usyk winner versus Fury White winner. I'd rather... AJ Fury is still a huge fight. If you said to me you have a choice, AJ Fury, Spence Crawford. Spence Crawford. What do you think about it? Spence Crawford. Give me that fight. Give me Spence Crawford. That is just... I love that fight. And it's a real boxing purists fight. It's a great fight. I think both men's styles will blend together extremely well. And I really think that fight, I'm hoping it happens. I think a lot of others are hoping it happens. And please, let's have that happen. Let's have that happen. I hope we get that fight. Other news is, this is a weird one, right? So the WBO have denied Jack Catterall's appeal, being dropped to number 3 in their rankings following his extremely controversial defeat to Josh Taylor. They have stated that they've actually put Jose Ramirez at number 2. Teofimo Lopez has gone down to number 4, and a guy called Liam Perot remains number 1. Bizarre. I don't understand that. I know other sanctioning bodies in the past, even ones we criticise, have ordered immediate rematches for fights they felt went a certain way. I know the IBF are very strange, like when it comes to certain things. They're one of the better sanctioning bodies with regards to enforcing mandatories, and they don't tend to just make up the rules as they go along for the most part anyway. But they can be very strange with their rankings. Like, you'd often see it. Like, I use this example, Kid Galahad is a good example, where your mandatory challenger, you fight and you lose, but they keep him at number 1. They never move him down the rankings, and then his next fight is an eliminator. It's just like, what was the point in that? Like, what? They've done that not just with him, they've done it with a few fighters. It's like, what is the point in that? I think they've done it with Danny Garcia a few times. I think when he moved up to welterweight, was he automatically mandatory? He might have. Yeah, I think he was on. No, I think he might have had one fight and he was mandatory. And did he? No, he lost to. He lost to Sean Porter for the WBC title. It was a vacant title, and they had him straight back in as mandatory. I don't even think he fought anyone. So they've done very bizarre kind of things like that when it comes to that kind of things. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. Surely if you lost your mandatory, you should go at the very least 3rd or 4th and let the next 2 battle it out for that right. You would think that. In terms of other news, Maya Jama, it's reported that she's now left the zone. She claims she was too busy, found it hard to commit. I seen that, and oh my god, the simps were out in force. Oh, this is disgraceful. This is disgraceful. She's been bullied away. I don't think her heart was ever really. I don't think her heart was ever in that DAZN game. I think she got a couple of paydays out of it and realised, look, I don't know anything about this. I can present, but Maya Jama. See, Laura Wood, I think, does quite a good job doing DAZN. I don't mind Laura Wood. I think Maya Jama has good energy to her, definitely. She can definitely present, but I just think that that just didn't fit her. Just did not fit Maya Jama. So she's no longer on DAZN. If they're thinking of getting rid of anyone, Bellew, just saying. But in other news, Eddie Hearn has declared that Canelo Alvarez, if he beats Dimitri Bivol, will fight Triple G on September 17th in a trilogy. He's also stated that there's a possibility he could have another fight in 2022 in December. Now, Canelo's deal with DAZN, his current deal, is up after the Triple G fight, provided he gets past Bivol. The names he's listed here for Canelo to fight in December, he might re-sign. The winner of Buatsi Richards. Really? So either one of them guys, really? Or John Ryder. Again, kind of scratching the head. I guess they want to give him an easy touch. Hence the reason why they're naming them names. And I can get that, to be fair, because, beating Dimitri Bivol, I will give Canelo massive credit for that, because it's a dangerous fight. It's a fight he gains the WBA title from, but in terms of boxing, the casual audience, he probably won't gain anything from it, because most of the casuals haven't a breeze who Bivol is. And a lot of boxing fans, if they don't know someone, if they've never heard of them, I say boxing, there's a lot of casuals from the outside looking in, they tend to kind of assume that fighter's not good. I remember when Kell Brook was getting ready to fight Triple G, and a lot of my friends at the time, they would have been casuals, they knew who Kell Brook was. They all knew who Kell Brook was. They were all fans of Kell Brook. And they were like, oh, Kell Brook's moving up in weight. He's fighting this guy. This guy can't be too good. I was like, and this was talking about prime Triple G here. I was like, this guy can't be too good. What are you talking about? I was like, search him on YouTube, Gennady Golovkin, and see what happens. Oh, yeah, this guy's a beast. It's like, you automatically think he's not good because you don't know him. And obviously I knew him. I was like, when I heard that, I remember when one of the lads said that, and my face dropped when they said the guy he's fighting must not be good. I was like, what? They were talking about prime Triple G. I was like, what? This guy's not good. Yeah, that goes to show. In terms of, okay, we're going to talk about Fury White. We got to talk about Fury White. They had the press conference. Dylan White was at it. John Fury tried to start something with Baby Ting, and I was listening to an IFL interview with Baby Ting, and he was like, I don't know what. He just literally just face to face, and all of a sudden John Fury starts shouting at Dean White. Why? I do not know. Even he was saying, didn't say anything, I've no idea. And that is John Fury, isn't it? I mean, like, a part of me wonders, with John Fury, I get the impression it's not, like, with John Fury, it's not an act. Like, he isn't playing when he's trying to, start rows with people. But at the same time, he does it so randomly now. Like, when Wilder was shouting Bomb Squad and John Fury would go for him, I could kind of think, well, he's not playing because Wilder's obviously pissing him off, and But with Dean White, he didn't do anything. And a part of me wonders, is that John Fury just trying to keep face for the sake of the camera in order to just get a bit more attention? Because according to Dean White literally said nothing was said, and all of a sudden just, what are you looking at? That sort of way. It's like, I don't know. In terms of both men at the press conference, it was weird. There was definitely a kind of weird kind of energy between the both guys. It struck me as though this is like, they're in the mindset that this is their first press conference when it's actually the last, if you get me. Because there's not been much build up for it. So I spoke about a week ago saying that we're 2 weeks away from the fight, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like the fight's happening, And I guess that kind of is how both fighters must feel, because they've been doing their training, they've been doing everything, but they've had no PR, really. Tyson Fury's done a bit, he's been to a press conference, but he's not had an opponent there, not even on Zoom. So for both guys, it must feel like this is the first real bit of PR, but it's the first kind of press conference. And they both kind of just seemed a bit edgy, just a bit nervous. And when they went to Wembley, when they were standing at this stadium, I think that's when it did hit them both that, like, Dylan White fought. Has he fought at Wembley? I don't think he's fought. Has he fought at Wembley? I don't think he's fought at Wembley on an AJ card. Now, he has fought the Principality, which is not much smaller, but I don't think he's fought at Wembley on an AJ card. No, I don't think he has. So for Dylan White, it's all well and good fighting at a big stadium when you're the undercard fighter and it's the AJ show. Well, he's coming into the Lions Den. He's been fighting on DAZN. Well, he's fighting with Matchroom, I should say. He's been on Sky and DAZN, but he's fighting with Matchroom since 2015. When he came back from the ban, I think he had one fight on a Cyclone show, and that was on, I think, a Frampton Avalos undercard when he fought Chris Avalos. That was back in February 2015. Since then, everything he's done, he's worked with Eddie Hearn. So he's going into Frank Warren, different platform, different everything. And I'm sure it's his first world title shot, lest we forget. I'm sure there is an element of nerve there. But with Tyson Fury strives on having the pressure, the expectation. Well, I suppose he does. He gives himself the expectation, I should say. It's probably a poor choice of words. But when it was Klitschko, people didn't expect him to win. So it was a real case of, like, we're not expecting that much. So Tyson Fury was happy to go into the Lions Den. He knew it was all on Klitschko, and he knew, I just need to turn up, I'm okay, I've got not much pressure, and I'm going to win. Same with the first Wilder fight. Alright? And to a lesser extent the second one, because it was more than 50. No one was saying Fury's going to blow him out in the second fight. Whereas now, he's back in the UK for the first time since 2018 fighting. He's never fought in anything like this, America or the UK. And I guess I get the impression that there is a bit of nerve. It's a different feeling for Tyson Fury. Like, he is firmly the A side against Klitschko, B side. First time against Wilder, even second time really against Wilder, B side. Not necessarily B side against Wilder second time, but he was the challenger. Whereas now he's the champion. 90,000+ fans. I reckon Fury, it's kind of hitting them both now, and we're seeing a bit of edginess from them. In terms of comments made about Tyson Fury retiring, you know, I do maintain the boy who cried wolf. He said these things so often, like, I'm retiring, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go into MMA, that you kind of look at it and say, well, that's Fury in character, like, as in, like, that's in his nature to do that, to exaggerate things. I was watching that man's video during the week where he said that when Fury got dropped the second time against Wilder, he did have the look in his eyes of someone who almost contemplate, well, like, do I want to do this anymore? And when I was looking at some of the footage, you know, for some of the preview videos I've done, it did kind of have that feel to it, didn't it? Where he kind of was like, do I want this anymore? And again, me and Jamie were talking as well, and I was saying that, like, Tyson Fury, got to remember, at one stage, when he'd show himself with his titles, AJ was still doing things, you know, Deontay Wilder was still, you know, seen as, you know, one of the best, still is a great fighter, but people would say, oh, Wilder will knock you out, Wilder's going to knock you out this time, oh, if you fought AJ, you'd lose, oh, if you fought Usyk, he'd school you. No one's saying that anymore. I mean, a lot of, even people who wouldn't like Tyson Fury would say, beat AJ, beat Wilder, beats White, probably beats Usyk, yeah. So no one's really coming at Tyson Fury and saying, you're not going to beat these guys. You know. I remember years ago, like, when he had all the other titles before the ban, everyone, it was, AJ's going to beat AJ. This when AJ was at the height of his hype. Oh, AJ's going to beat you. Oh yeah, you're never going to beat AJ. Oh, Klitschko's going to beat you in the rematch. Oh, you're never going to beat these guys. And I get the impression that maybe that filled some of Tyson Fury's fire. Maybe he'd look and think, oh, I want to box, and then he'd see, you know, they think I can't beat AJ, well, I'll show them. Whereas now everyone thinks, or the majority anyway, think, he's going to beat these guys. He's going to beat these guys. Fury will beat them. I know it's going to be Fury. Maybe he believes that and just thinks, I'm better than all these guys. I don't need to go through the training camp again, you know. His family is ever growing. I mean, how many kids has he got now? 6, 7? Maybe he is just looking and thinking, you know what, I've done it all. Like, I've won the heavyweight title. I've gone through whatever. I've come back from that, lost all that weight. I've won it back, defended it, had my day out in Wembley in front of 90,000+. What more do I need? Tyson Fury, in terms of legacy, I mean, I'm not saying it like this, but, like, I'm sure in his mind, he probably thinks, I don't need any more. You know? In many ways, if Fury had have never came back after the Klitschko fight, his legacy would have still been there. People would still be talking about him years to come. Do you remember Tyson Fury? Yeah, he never came back. I wonder how good he could have been. So Fury, I think he's got one foot out the door. I do. I think he's probably going to... I'm genuinely, hand on heart, I reckon this is the last year we have Fury in the sport of boxing. I reckon that Dillian White, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, the three main guys in British boxing in terms of certainly the heavyweights, Fury's the first to go. Don't know who's going to be the second. That's the question. I don't know who's going to be first, but I reckon Fury's going to be the first to leave. That's what I think. For now, I'm going to leave it with that. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will get my prediction video out tomorrow. It's going to go out tonight. It's been a job of getting this recorded. God damn it, it's been crazy. Apple and iCloud just deciding we're not going to let you use the original recording. Hence the reason why there's a few lapses in this. Just deciding we're gonna ramp up the storage and make you re-download everything again. Of course they did. For now, I'll leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you guys tomorrow in the next one. I'll talk to you then. Peace.